Okay, so in the last video, we took that index page, we did some changes. We made CSS rules, changed navigation, changed some settings in the slider. I showed you how to add a jumbotron. We made CSS rules for that. I showed you how you could add a row with 3 columns and make CSS rules for that, adding images and text. We added another jumbotron here. That's our original article. I can also go into that article, make CSS rules to center the text if you want to do that. I showed you how we could come back to our CSS rules and do changes. And with this one, we centered the text and put some padding at the top of that thumbnail CSS rule. And I, on my own off video, added this other row with columns, 3 columns with rounded images. Okay, and once again, I could always come back to these old rules. I come back to my column 4 CSS rule, and I could always make changes if I want to put a little padding on the top. Maybe 20 pixels. I push those images down a little bit. It's going to take a second to catch up. Here we are. Now they've moved down. And like I said before, I will replace these thumbnail placeholder images with actual images. Just for the sake of time, I'm just showing you how to do some changes. Alright, so my index page is done. Make sure everything's saved. And I can make new pages. And what I can do is, quick way to do this, File, Save As, and then just change this to About. So if I want my About page, and save. Okay, so let me go to my About page, and you can see, let me go ahead and close that and reopen that. That's my About page. Okay, there we are. That way it duplicates your navigation, duplicates your carousel, and my other sections. Now this is my About page. Maybe I don't need some of these sections. So if I didn't want this area here, this jumbotron, I could click on it, right click, and delete. Okay, if I could keep this row and replace the information, replace the images, replace the text, or I could decide, well, I don't really need this. It's just an About page. I don't need this row. There's a row with those 3 columns. I can right click and delete that. Okay. Specials of the day. Oh, this is my About page. So let me change that. And as we know, I can double click this and change all this text. Now this will be working off the same CSS sheet as my index page. So if I did want to change any of the background colors or anything, they will change on my index page also. Now if I have my jumbotron, I could give it an ID if I wanted to change it just on this page. But I don't want to do that. I want all my pages to be consistent. Okay. There's my article. If I want my article, I can keep it and just change the text, or I can delete that article if I don't need it. I think I'm going to keep these areas at the bottom here. Okay, so I changed some information here for my About page. I've decided I don't want this carousel on this page. So I can come back here to the highest level of that carousel, right after the navigation bar on that carousel, and I can right click and delete that. Oh, it looks a little boring, so I want to put an image above this H1. You know, you can do the same thing I'm doing, or you can arrange it some other way. But if I wanted to put an image here, I click on that H1, insert, responsive image. I'm just going to do the default. There's rounded corners, all kinds of other things. I'm going to do the default. I want it to be before that H1. It's my default placeholder. Let me find the actual image I want to put in there. Browse for it. I have this nice prepared image here. Good. Can do all my placeholder text. Only thing is, it doesn't fill in a larger screen. It does not. That image is not sized to go all the way across. It gets as big as the actual original image, but if I want it to go a little bit wider so it fills up that space, I can do that. I could make a rule for any image that I put in my Jumbotron. So I can make a CSS rule for that, or I could click on this image and give it a specific name or ID down here, just like we've done before. I'm just going to call this one Pizza About Page. Okay. Now when I come over to my CSS Designer, click off here first. There we go. This image selected, I can go to my Pizza CSS page, add a selector. And you'll see that the selector includes my ID Pizza About page here. We can call your, obviously call your image whatever you want. And hit enter. And this is a CSS rule that's just gonna apply to my image, this one specific image. So I can go to the layout. I'm gonna switch the width to percentage. It's going a little slow here. I'm gonna go at 100%. And then hit return or click off that. Give it a second to catch up. And you'll see the image goes at 100% of whatever size my page is. See how it resizes. Good. And let me go ahead and save this. And I'm going to preview this. Just let me save all. Make sure everything gets saved. Preview. There we are. A little bit of trouble, but now you can see how that image resizes to fill up that space. And it should resize for different window sizes.